Okay, folks, welcome back. Let's pick up where we left off. We've got our phone here that should let me know if the feed gets disconnected, which happened to me this morning. And I noticed it probably 30 minutes after it happened and it shut off. Unfortunately, I can't do a send off like, well, I guess that's it, but at least I'm not yammering for another hour. I'm not aware that the show is not going on. So we'll just set that off over there to the side. I got a bunch of unfinished Cokes. We need to do something about that. Let's get a cup with some ice and finish those off. We're going to work on our rows that should be good to go. That worked on this morning. Needed some drying time. I didn't get a chance to do the gooping on the video because I got disconnected, but we did do that. So we're ready to paint these. Ready to paint these up. Really happy with the way the refurb on my figures turned out. And I did end up ordering Litco stands for them. I ordered, I think, 200. I should have enough magnets for 200 figures. I think I'll be okay for a while. Okay. And it does thicken the size of the stand a little bit. So it makes it a more of an opportunity to actually grab the edge of the stand instead of the actual figure. That saves on them a little bit. Okay, so we've got these two half pieces here. And we've got the two full pieces. So these are going to be completely asphaltic. And then these will have the transfer over to the for the dirt. So we're going to start off by painting all of them black for the asphalt. And I think I used the back side of this. This is my painting thing here, and we got our super readers on. We've got some water. We've got our phone running. Ben's back. All right. Let's lose all this jewelry. Only the watch. I can't do anything without the watch. I don't remember if we used folk art or not for this. I'm going to go ahead and use it because it's definitely the heaviest duty one we've got. Do anything exciting today, Ben? Other than not call on people? I don't know. You might actually work on Saturdays for all I know. I mean, if you work from home, I guess you could probably pick your own schedule to some degree. I guess this one will do. I'm just going to put this stuff directly on here. And, oh shit. You know what I forgot to ask? She got me a big Purell. My wife went to the store and called me and says, hey, I've got Purell for this amount. You want to pick it up? I said, yes. Yes, I do. Yes, it does. Let's start off with that and see how far we get with this. I gotta believe I used a little bit more water than that. I'd be here all month. I don't remember this taking an absurd amount of time. It was this color, right? It wasn't just a pewter? Oh, damn me, it wasn't this color. Ah, fudgesicle. Oh, well. Does that mean I didn't use the other one either? Okay. False start. I don't remember it being that difficult to apply. Hey, shit happens. None of it is a big deal. It maintains me human and keeps me from being worshipped. Pavement. There we go. That's a lot better. No, it was like, man, I don't remember this being so difficult to apply. This totally looks like Panzer Gray. Totally Panzer Gray. Haven't now finished the low walls from hovels. Only a ruined obelisk to do now and watch some cryptozoology videos. Wow. I have no idea what the hell that is. Well, we just went and watched the Deadpool movie, the daughter and I, and then we had lunch, and it rained like a mofo. And I can't recommend the Deadpool movie, and I've seen all of them. I thought it was certainly the worst iteration of them all. It had one scene that it was really, really funny. And I didn't even watch any previews. I don't like anything that involves. I got a friend of mine who really does not like. He says he always complains that his plot that he absolutely hates is time travel. And I don't hate time travel. I hate multiple universes. I think it's just absurd. It's not that it's absurd. It's hard to fucking follow. So anything that involves multiple universes, I'm not really, interested in that. Because of course it's not two universes. It's like, well, how many do you want, But the daughter really wanted to see it. I would have been fine waiting until it to come out on video. Guess you can't really say when it come on video. Wait for it to come out on streaming. There were some mega nerds in the movie theater too. Like, holy shit. I got nothing on you. Multiverses always make the main story seem inconsequential. That's a good point. It makes your head hurt. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't do the kind of drugs where that makes any sense. Yeah, it's like he died. Well, not really, because in another universe he's really alive. Well, it's why are we watching this again? Well, if you ever get around to seeing it, the scene on the bus, 2/3 of the way through the movie, I almost peed myself. It was so funny. And I don't know that I've seen another movie with a multiverse in it, because as soon as I hear about it, I'm like, I don't watch it. My daughter has always said that the animated Spider-Man one, Into the whatever it's called, Into the Multiverses, it was a really good movie, and almost everybody would agree that was a good one. I haven't seen it because it's it just has multiverses. I'm not interested in that. You know, time travel. I'm actually fine. I'm actually a fan of time travel, from the standpoint of, it's just, it's not that it's time travel. It's like, we've all done this. We've done something in our life where we're like, man, I wonder if I'd done this other thing instead. How would it have turned out? And it's like not really time travel so much, but just like choose your own adventure type of thing. You know, that's a good plot. I like that, as long as it's kept to a not a crazy level. But I don't think I've seen another movie before I had multiverses. No, I did not see the Loki thing. I actually don't like Mr. Hiddleston. I'm sorry. He's probably a nice guy in real life. I don't really care for him as an actor. I don't know that he's I think he's a bad actor. He just doesn't there's no connection there. I don't want to see him in things, you know. Or they go too far and say the big baddie is so powerful he can destroy all the universes, which kills the point of having more than one reality by assigning them to the same fate as the main one. Yeah. Or my favorite one. Oh, he's not a bad guy. He's just misunderstood. If he would have just had a better upbringing, if he would have just been loved, if his, if his, if he hadn't been made fun of and bullied. Oh, you can't say that there's evil because you might offend evil people. Fuck them. They're evil. Oh, we wouldn't want to upset Satanists. I know several people that would have a real problem with like atheists. Like I can't understand how people are atheists. Atheists don't bother me one bit. What bothers me is anybody who wants to sacrifice something living for a god. Like, oh, I gotta please my god by killing something. When you ever thought that you ever thought that you're killing one of your god's creations? You think he's gonna be happy with that? Like, it would be like you got some kid in the other room, and he built this tower of Legos, right? So you go and you like bring him one of the Legos from you destroy his tower of Legos and bring him one of the Legos. Here, I got this for you. So you just destroyed something I created. I'd be like, bam, strike that bastard down. Why do I bother cleaning my hands for this? Basically, music to have characters show up in other costumes. Yeah, I don't really care for the all the movies that tie in to each other. I just it just I'm gonna watch them one time. I don't care about Easter eggs. Um, it's just too complicated. Oh, what happened here? What happened here? No, I want this on the. What did this move from? I must have bumped this. No, I want this because I want to make sure that, if I'm disconnected, I'd like to find out about it. Oh, we got a controversy here. I don't. Leave me alone. Some controversy about the Last Supper or something in the Olympics. I'm like, whatever. Stop causing problems. YouTube. And if I was on the computer, I'm not smart enough to do this on the phone. Like go back to where I was. I can't be good at everything. I'm actually okay not telling people I don't know everything. I know some folks have a real problem with that. And here we go. Let's go here, and this is the stream that is going on. Okay, now maybe I think I put something too close to it and it bumped it out. Who's an actor, actress, Ben, that you would rather not see in a movie? They could be okay as a human being or whatever. It's just somebody you don't want to see. I got a whole bunch of them. I don't wish them anything bad to happen to them. I don't really care for their portrayals. Just like I'm sure some people piss me off. I piss some people off. Oh well. At least I'm not pretending to be somebody I'm not. Somebody said, "Oh, they're in this. I don't want to see it." But I didn't really care for the movie very much, and I didn't watch the previews on purpose. I wanted to avoid them so they didn't ruin the funny parts. And there's too many people that are just willing to die on hills. Like Ben might like somebody that I hate, and I may hate somebody that he likes, and it's okay. I mean, it's all right. We can get along. It's not like, well, we both can't have it that way. Somebody's going to be wrong. Like, no, like people are allowed to have opinions, man, and it may not be a favorable one, and might not be a popular one. You don't think you have any? Again, I don't watch many modern movies. All about old movies. Old movies, I'll go to old movies. Actors that I don't like in old movies. I don't really care for Henry Fonda or um, what's his name? Or Mitchum or who else is in an old movie? The guy that everybody freaking seems to love. Um, Bogart. I don't care for Bogart. I don't care for Bogart. What other movie? We're not really old actors, but um, who's that guy that? The guy was like a badass in all those movies. Charles Bronson. I can't stand Charles Bronson. I don't like the guy that. Who's the guy that they say he can kick everybody's ass? Chuck Norris. Well, Chuck Norris is a terrible actor. And I swear he's related to Tim Allen. I don't know how that's not possible, but those are movies that I would just rather avoid. They're in them. I've seen them in them. I would just rather them not be in the movie. And I'm sure there's probably folks that I haven't met before. Now, likewise, there's lots of folks that you'd be like, oh, they're in a movie, I want to see it. But likewise, there's an equal group of people that's like, oh, this guy's in it. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that guy. But I don't really watch modern movies either. I don't really watch movies. There's better stuff to do than just sitting and watching movies. All right, now is this backside. Toolman Tim, yeah. Yeah, he's got to be related. Him and Chuck Norris look like they're related to each other. Or Chuck Norris looks like he's related to. I've seen Tim Allen on a lot of stuff. I think I've tried to watch one top Chuck Norris movie and couldn't make it. I just. Not a fan. Not a fan. Pugwash, who can't you stand? Yeah, they might be a nice person in real life. Like I think Keanu Reeves. I don't like Keanu Reeves at all. I think he's a terrible actor. I hear he's a really nice guy, and like bad things have happened to him, and good for you. I don't, wish anything bad upon him. I just don't like. I think he's a bit too stoned acting, whether or not he is, all the time for me. I'd prefer people on cocaine. I hear he's a really great human being. I believe it. Somebody in Hollywood's got to be a good human being. Might as well be him. There certainly aren't enough of them. Hollywood. I don't really care for him. So yeah, I've watched the Wick movies, but I wish it would have been somebody with a little bit more gravitas. Toolman Tim, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I used to watch his show pretty religiously back in the day. It was also on one of the few channels that I got. I only got like two channels at the house, and he was on one of them. It's a pretty okay show. I mean, you've seen one episode, you've seen them all. I thought his new show was better. It's funny, his new show is polar opposite of his old show. His old show, he's like the dumbest one of the family, makes all the dumb choices. And the new show, he's like the wisest one. So it's kind of like, it's interesting how it did a 180. But I tried watching one of his old shows within the last year, and it just seemed really, really dated. Um, Could use that as a palette. Yeah, I was pretty happy where the figures are, but then I'm out of the magnets, so I went ahead and ordered 200 of them. So we'll have that. Even though I don't need them that much because I don't I don't plan on traveling with these figures. It's nice to be able to put them on some kind of a tray and know they're not going to fall all over the place because they're magnetized down. So I don't know, just for the sake of consistency, it makes this penny a little thicker, easier to grab the edge, that sort of thing. More in line with the thickness of the same as the base here. But as I've gotten older and as time has gone on, I am less and less aware of actors, modern actors, like you said, and modern, especially modern music. Just don't have a fucking clue. Just don't care. Just don't have a clue. Don't care. You know. Been watching the Cops TV show. What, the Bad Boys? Bad Boys? What you gonna do? American police are pretty hardcore compared to the UK's. Yeah, that's a terrible job. That's a terrible job being a police officer. Um, yeah. There's some people that just don't have anything to lose, so they just they don't care if they go to jail, and if you're a police officer, you just got to do. Now, I don't really care for. There's things that police officers do that I don't really care for, and I am not. I'm certainly not anti-cop, but they do shit that I don't really care for. Um, like they get nosy and they like to snoop around and hide in places, and I don't even necessarily mean speed traps. I live in a little town that's kind of a speed trap heaven, but I kind of know that that's what it is, and I've worked in the same town and now live in it for 30 years, so I kind of know how that is. They got to get it for revenue, but I live the kind of life cops shouldn't be messing with me. I got a better record than the cops do, so I'm certainly not anti-cop. I just don't like when they get in all activist mode and shit like that. Go out and look for problems and stuff. You know, like say you're having lunch in the middle of a parking lot and they park next to you. Hey, can I help you with something? Like, what? This is not a free country. I can't. Remember to switch to live chat. I did before you guys even came on here. But thanks for the reminder, because that's an easy thing for me to forget to do. Yeah, it says live chat on here. Did you put something on there that didn't come up? Well, you probably shouldn't be saying that. Hey, it's not me. It's the bots automatically. I'm not into curbing anybody's freedom of speech. You guys know how to behave. You know? I mean, seriously, you guys know how to behave. Just like I know how to behave. You know? I could say all kinds of horrible things on Facebook. I don't. There's no reason to. I don't need to do horrible things. You know? Some people just have no manners, weren't raised right, all the above. You know? I'm nicer online than in person. In person, you can sit and tell somebody, go fuck yourself, and you don't have to see them again. Online, you go, oh crap, somebody responded to it, I gotta defend myself. Hold on, my honor is at stake, they're calling me a lot. You know, it's like, you can walk away from shit in real life. I don't think YouTube likes me using the word blow. What's wrong with blow, man? Lots of things that involve blow are good. Especially coke. They only want you doing the slow drugs. They keep you dumb. I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I am pretty convinced that the government is going along with legalizing marijuana to keep people dumb and medicated so they can get away with all kinds of stuff. But I really am not a conspiracy person. I'm not, but that's just kind of like, we don't need more dumb people, man. We need people like on the freaking ball. Like, we need better citizens, and like, you know, let's make good products here. Let's start building good automobiles in freaking Britain again. Like, come on, man. That's what we need. We don't need more like, nah, I'm just going to sit around here and eat Twinkies. Right? You guys need to build like a sport coupe called the Spitfire or something like that. It needs to be badass or something like that. They legalize it so they can tax it and keep people dumb. Just not care, you know. Keep people medicated. I know somebody one time said, "Oh, I gotta take all these pills for work, you know, because I can stay calm." If you need to take medication, I seriously mean this. If you are a reasonable individual, not, you know, like a crazy person, okay, and you need to take medication just to stay calm at work, work's too fucking crazy. You need to say something about it. You need to change. Like, that's not cool, you know. I am not taking fucking medication just to go to work. You know, other people need to step up. Okay. What a disaster. Okay. And now I'm out of paper towels again. This one will do for wiping things down. So let's take a journey to the first thing that I did this morning. I'll show you how it turned out. And I was pleasantly surprised. And that's the pieces of wood here that went for a deep dive. And they all seem to be about the same color, but when they dried, they certainly weren't. So we've got some different coloration here on this. And this should be okay to, yeah, we'll put this in a little bag as well. So we're going to have a bag of sticks that we can throw on our terrain. Maybe I didn't like you saying a different word, but I said Steven Seagal's acting blows every chicken in the coop. Oh. I've only seen him in 2 or 3 movies. In his first 2 or 3 movies. And every time somebody brings up Steven Seagal, there's 2 things I think of. Kelly LeBrock and the freaking cue ball in the freaking, the movie where I forget which, was it Hard to Kill, where he gets ambushed by a bunch of mafiosos and he's like unarmed, right? And he takes the cue ball and puts it in the rag and he proceeds to deteethificate everybody. Yeah, that's pretty badass. And supposedly he is a badass in real life. I don't know. I liked him in those movies. Oh, and I saw him one where the naked girl comes out of the battleship, the cake on the battleship, whatever it's called, where he's a cook. I've seen that one, and then maybe only 2 or 3 movies, and a long time ago. Those have been like 89, 90, 91, 92. Nothing since then. Yeah, is he a real bad actor? I don't know. I don't remember. He just seemed very. I don't know. I hadn't seen him in something in a long time. He's got to be a better actor than Chuck Norris. Come on, man. Chuck Norris is terrible. He's like he's like somebody at a carnival or something like that. He's worse than Hallmark acting. Come on, man. Jeffrey, you got opinions. What actors do you not care for seeing? I got a whole list of them. I just can't think of them. That's why I like unknown people. Like, give me some other people that I don't know who the heck they are. He got legit chalked out by an 80-year-old and lost control of his bowels. Wow. Somebody forgot to wear the brown pants. This is sticking a little bit to this, which is to be expected. And I'm okay that some of them are stuck together. Okay, that's just fine. Oh, they're really stuck together. Well, something in my plan had to go sideways because honestly, everything I've done has turned out really, really well. I had like an idea, and I may have had to modify it a little bit, and we still came out winner. The brick thing looked like it was going to start to go sideways, and then the staining worked great. I mean, I couldn't be happier. You fat fingered it. You fat fingered the spelling. I do that all the time. Well, I may have to wet this napkin and get these pieces off. Or just do that. Funny enough, Seagal, I haven't seen it. It's pretty easy to avoid him in different things. I don't really want to see Arnold in anything. I mean, he was fine in the stuff that he was way back when he did it, but now he's like, Of course, he's not really in anything anymore. I'm tired of seeing the De Niro's and the other Italian Pacino guys. I mean, I'm tired. I'm tired of seeing these New York actors. Like, okay, that New York is not America. And just so you guys know this, okay, New York is not America. Just like Paris isn't France, just like London isn't the United Kingdom. Although I don't think in London they have a really annoying accent, do they? That's atypical. Maybe they do now. I don't know. Okay. I'm going to leave this as B. I could trim those up if I need to. Let's put these in a little bag. We should have that little bag here. You use that Vallejo Game Wash for dipping today, and it stains a lot more than normal, but it's quite nice to work with by brush. Yeah, it's just too expensive. I'd rather just use this craft paint, you know. I'm sure it'll work better. I don't. There's different stuff. There's different things. The thing that worked the worst on the bricks was the Army Painter stuff because it left them glossy. I really like the Army Painter for what I'd use it for, but yeah, that's good. I only did one batch of that one. Cockney's an acquired taste. So growing up, there was only two British accents, RP and Cockney. So I got used to hearing Cockney. I don't necessarily know all the euphemisms and slang in it, but I'm kind of, I think what's his name has the fact that Michael Caine is in so many things, and we've all seen him in so many things. I think that getting used to hearing him has helped the understanding of the Cockney twang. Come on, who doesn't like Michael Caine? I'm sure somebody out here doesn't like Michael Caine. Michael Caine's awesome. He's one of those people like, oh, he's in the movie, I want to see it. Although there's lots of his movies I haven't seen. I was going to have you ever watch any Fred Dibna. Never heard of her. Fred Dibna, no. I'll add it to my list, though. Sounds like he's a comedian. Is he a comedian? I like British comedians. As long as there's subtitles. And one of you clowns, one of you blokes, told me about Jimmy Carr. I like Jimmy Carr, but Jimmy Carr is just, he's pretty funny. Let's see. What is this? Fred Dibna. Fred Dibna. That doesn't sound like a very British surname. I'm just saying. Fred's cool. Okay. Can we check him out? No, a steeplejack that went Old Mill Chimneys. You'll like him. Okay. Well, you ought to know what I like by now. I mean, I try to be transparent. I really do. I hope I'm not difficult to figure out. I really hope that I'm not very obfuscating. He had no fear. Okay. Fear not, dread not. Get rid of all this morass of shit that's over here. Ooh, that's gonna need to be dealt with. Steeplejack that went up Old Mill Chimney. You'll like him. Amazing watching him put his ladders up. Wow, what kind of videos are I in store for? This is not something typical. Okay, cool. Good stuff. No, I'm definitely not one of those folks. Oh, it's not American. It's no good. Nah, I like some of the stuff you guys have over there, and I hate it. Oh man, pooper scooper. Yeah, clean up on aisle 4. There you go. Well, that was not a problem. What did you call it? A flag shagger. You bloody flag shagger. Although a flag shagger actually sounds like somebody who would, wipe their private section with a flag when they were done and needed to clean up, It kind of sounds like a little bit like that. Excuse me while I wipe this off with a flag. I find estuary English, oh interesting, annoying. My old work HQ was in Essex, and the communications problems between my Scottish twang and their estuary English would make a great sitcom. So, don't Essex have their own little... Now, I don't know about this show, but, you guys have like an Essex show that's basically like a bunch of... It would be the equivalent of like dumb Valley Girls. And I've heard them, and that accent's not very attractive. Not very attractive at all. But then, I don't really like listening to unintelligent. It doesn't matter what your accent is. Hey, you guys have some Essex show. I haven't watched it. I don't watch those kind of shows in English. I don't watch American shows like that. There's shows that they get people on them that are like, oh, this person just wants to be famous, even if it's self-deprecating. I'm like, no, I just don't. Not really a fan of that. Okay. A lot of it is the speed. I mean, if you speak slowly, it's a lot easier to understand, and the colloquialisms we're just not familiar with. Okay, so now we're going to get pavement out again, which we put it away, didn't we? No, it's over here. And I believe we used white. To lighten it up and go over it. Let's get our example of how we want it to look. That's how we want it to look. I don't know. I think there was some black in here. Some of these were painted black and some of them weren't. I see a problem, officer. What in the four hells is going on here? The other one I grabbed was not black on the back. We have an incongruency. I hate incongruencies. Where's the other piece of pavement here? Good thing my area is relatively clean. There'd be a real mix-up. It's okay. I need challenges like this to keep me, human. Here's the other one. Well, you know what? We'll just paint the one side then if that's what we need to do. We don't care about the back. No, the back is black. How did I miss that? Well, all right. Back to the drawing board. No biggie. Scheiße! We're not using this stuff. That's too valuable. Let's use Americana. Mr. Marcus, welcome back. Or were you not here this morning? I don't remember. You may not have been here. Used to struggle to understand the mother-in-law with her Scottish accent after she had a drink or two. Well, you know the solution. You have the drinks also, and then it's not a problem. You won't have a problem communicating, or you just won't care. Win-win either way. Let's, I think I should be able to use these little containers that I saved. Be a handy place to, what did I do? I scraped something on the top of, just a flesh wound. Nah, just shit happens. I don't want to waste my blood. I got good blood, no contaminants. You just nod along. I just want to know in Scotland, if men wear kilts, what do women wear? I gotta clean. I gotta clean one of these things off. I gotta clean one of these brushes off. That's... Yeah, I don't hear well, so sometimes when I have trouble understanding a conversation, I just tune out. I don't know, maybe people think I'm stupid, but I just have trouble understanding. So if you got people that don't enunciate well, I'd be like, hey, if you want to catch my attention, say, hey, Tony, and then I'll listen. You know? Kilts. Women wear kilts too. Women, I'm not wearing kilts as a dude, but women look good in kilts. Just saying. Hi. Orn, Ormally without. Oh, now you're just using. They wear thermals. Thermal underwear? Or is that what you call those yoga pant type things? I guess those would be considered thermals. I mean, they're on your skin to keep you warm, I guess. You know? All right, so we're going to go over the top of this with this color, with the U. I like American pronunciation, but I like British spelling. Armor needs to have a U in it. It just looks right. The color gray does not look right with an A. It does not. And I was doing that one point in college. I'm like, this doesn't look right. I'm going to spell it the British way. And I got marked off for it on my paper. Stupid American. Dumbass. But armor just looks wrong without a U in it. It just does. We're not going to paint the other side. We're just going to deal with it. Is Sport that little whiskey container? I do not know. That's actually not a place I would mind going to, but it just can't be my first stop in Europe. It just, if I ever get to go to Europe, I can't go there first. Sorry. Kilts are heavy to wear. I can see that. I'd like to get changed as soon as possible if I've been wearing one. Yeah, I could see that. A lot of material. Wool. I tell you what I enjoyed. This is my closest kilt experience I've had and probably ever will have because it's not my people. It's not my responsibility for wearing dresses. You guys started it. You guys have to sit. You guys have to lay in that bed. But the mother-in-law went to Scotland. I think she went to Scotland at one time, and she brought us back. One of my favorite things I've ever, people go on trips and they bring you things you don't really want, right? The best thing I've ever gotten was this, was a, God, what do you call it? The best things you get are things you wouldn't buy for yourself, That's what it is. And, but you want, or you don't realize you want, and then when you have it, you're really happy with. What's the thing that goes around your neck? A scarf. A scarf, and it was in tartan, and it came with the history of whatever the clan was. I freaking loved wearing that in New York and Canada. I absolutely loved wearing a scarf. It was like a way to dress something up. It was like another article of clothes. I loved it, and it was wool, and I forget which clan it was, but I really liked the color. Not my clan. I'm not those people. That's not my responsibility. Sporn is the purse-like thing hanging from the front of the kilt. Right, it's the whiskey thing, right? It only has money in it and a wee dram. Oh, I want more than a dram. Come on, man. I I like whiskey, and it is an acquired taste. I didn't as a younger person, but yeah. How many people are on here? Let's have some whiskey. Fuck it. You started it. Okay, today's painting session brought to you by La Frog. Right? That's how you say it, right? So, my wife, who also likes whiskey, doesn't like this stuff. I really do. It is, I can see it's an acquired taste, but I like this peaty stuff. I like all of them, except the blended ones. I don't like blended whiskey. I generally don't like blended whiskey. I don't know what a dram is, but this is America, and we do whatever the fuck we want, or we used to be able to do whatever the fuck we wanted to. If you don't like it, you can come knock on our door. We're only armed 7 days a week. Is this a dram or 3 drams or? I do need a reason to drink because I rarely drink, and like the alcohol goes bad. Not that this is even a year old. Try not to have a dram. Let's flip that. Got the talk chat and live chat. Try not to have a dram of wheat if I have the choice. All right, salud. Oh, nice. Makes you think. It opens the pores in your brain. Nice. Now, normally, I would be a barbarian and put ice in it. I never put water in it. And only because Florida's freaking hot, and it's like, you're used to having it probably, you could have it in your house and it's 50 degrees all the time. It's not 50 degrees here. So, but it's 70. So I think I will manage. See, you drove me to drinking. But I like most things. Most beverages are okay, except when I wanted scotch on the plane, and all they had was Dewar's. I had never had that before, and I'll never have it again. That was absolutely horrible. But it is an acquired taste. And it settles with me a lot better than beer does. Beer just doesn't. Although I had 2 beers today, which is unusual. Well, I went to a movie and they have beer in the movie, so I'm like, well, I'll have one. Why not? And then we went to lunch, and I had one of my favorite beers is actually from Greece. I know it's really German beer, but that's a Greek brand, and it's pretty incredible. And it just tastes like beer. It's not like a fancy cranberry appletini flavored thing. It tastes like fucking beer, And So we had that. We had Greek for breakfast, for lunch, for late lunch, I guess. Dinner, dunch. Yeah, Dewar's just tastes awful. And what was the other one that they were giving us free? Was it Cutty Sark? It was bad. I don't drink that much, so I don't need to buy $250 a bottle, but a bottle lasts me a long time. I basically don't drink. Speaking of things I don't like the taste of, but like the bags, I didn't get to the bag part. You could go on Amazon and order the bags of Crown Royal, of just the bags themselves. That's handy because I don't really like Crown. It tastes cheapo, even though it's not. It's not price cheapo. But the bags, who doesn't like the Crown Royal bags? Everybody likes the Crown Royal bags. So this is the transition piece. I'm going to paint, maybe not all of it asphalt, but at least up to like maybe here. And then the rest of it will be dirt and it'll blend somewhere in the middle. And this is just, theoretically, this should look good. I don't know. I'm just kind of going with instinct. Is that I'm trying not to overthink stuff. Just jump in and paint your way out. And hopefully I'll motivate you guys to do the same thing. We spend too much time worrying if something's going to turn out right. And the reality is if you are an experienced painter, you just need to challenge yourself a little bit more. You just end up spending a lot of time thinking about, well, what could go wrong that you never actually do it. So for those of you guys that are experts on the matter, Canadian infantry, right? They have complete British kit, right? Are they basically the same? Is there something like, can I use these Brits as Canadians as well? Or do I have to make them Canadian? The vehicles I probably wouldn't mix match because the vehicles have cool emblems and stuff on them. But the infantry, can I use British infantry for Canadians? Or they got the wrong Y straps or something? It should not take long for that to dry. At all. At all, at all, at all. Yeah, but I'm glad I finally did these. So now they're out of the way. So I like the figures that I've done. I've done a fair number of them. It doesn't look like I have very many of them, but I got a certainly fair number of them for any scenarios I plan on running. Yeah, I should be good enough to go. So yeah, I was talking about I finished a book on the Pacific War, involved the Pacific War stuff, and I don't know, kind of want to learn more about it. Not that I want to build any Marines. I got nothing against Marines, but the World War II Marine uniform is just god awful. Now the helmet cover is cool, I like that, but the rest of it, they just look like third-rate pajamas that they're wearing. I imagine they must be pretty much the same as the Brits, apart from the beret badges, etc. I think you're right. I think you're exactly right on that. And they apologize for everything. You destroyed our village. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about your hoose. Paint some troops, make them Canadians, and everybody's got to paint Canadians against a bunch of those SS fuckers. That'd be good. Mow down some SS guys. They look cool, but they're assholes. Every one of them. They just misunderstood that even though they're the defenders of Europe. Nazi fucks. Nazis. There's a difference between painting stuff and having a problem playing them. I play demons, but I'm not going to spend the night with a demon. As a matter of fact, I was going to do Epic 40K. That's what I had. I had some demon stuff. I'm not going to go to bed with fucking demons. All right, I'll paint the army and I'll play them, but I'm not sleeping with any demons. Been watching a channel adventure called Exploring Canada. It looks like a lovely place. Well, I'll tell you what, I've only been there one time, and I can't say enough nice things about that place. Now, the rest of Canada might be a dump, but where I went, that's a nice place. That's a really nice place. Absolutely gorgeous. It's so nice, we should have taken it. No, it's a really nice place. Except there's no Canadians there. There's a lot of foreigners, and I don't mean on vacation. I just mean there was a lot of Australians. There's a lot of Australians that were working there in the wintertime. And apparently what happens is several of these folks, when it's they stay in wintertime in both, which sounds pretty awesome. You find a season, and then you go to the opposite side. You don't say you don't like summertime in Florida. I don't blame you. You come here during the wintertime, and when it starts getting too hot, you go somewhere else that's more reasonable, Norway or somewhere, and flip flop. Although there it'd be, you got to go to the opposite season, so you have to do Florida and Tierra del Fuego or something like that, which actually surprisingly is actually a place I wouldn't mind going to. Although I have a feeling I would not have really good cell service there. I think that's probably a fascinating place. The Fjords of Chile. Ever since I read that book relatively recently on the German surface raiders in the First World War and the Dresden that was hiding in those fjords down there, that's just some incredible shit. Listen, you don't need to read fiction, man. There's so many cool things that really happen in real life that people don't know about. There's so many interesting things that people died over, that their memory doesn't even live on. So yeah, I don't know how the rest of Canada is, but when we went up to the Calgary Banff area, it's absolutely gorgeous. And I don't want to go. I told my daughters I don't want to go. I don't want to go anywhere on vacation that is able to get cold weather, right? Like we can't really get cold weather here in Florida. I mean, what we call nice weather. When cold weather season here is just nice weather. It's like the temperature you wish it was like all year round. I don't want to go somewhere like Maine in the summertime. Is British Columbia part of Canada? Absolutely. For now it is. Yeah, it's the, yep. We actually went snowmobiling in British Columbia. I mean, it was right over the mountains. It was, we were within earshot or whatever, 2 or 3 miles over the border in it. And I don't know what the hell I was saying, so might as well have another sip. Mini sip. I want to enjoy that. There's no point in downing that. Even stuff like tequila, I'd rather sip on it than take shots. I like to enjoy the process. Yeah, I thought Canada was absolutely beautiful. Oh, what I was saying is, there's no point like going to Colorado in the summertime for me. Like I already live somewhere hot. Like I want to see the stuff that I can't see here. So, and that's why all the wildlife is active too. Like I don't want to really fly in a plane and go land somewhere where there's like predators that weigh 3 times what I weigh or more, and are faster than me. Oh, and can climb trees better. And as someone that's basically lived their entire life somewhere where it doesn't snow, snow to me is like going to another planet. It is just a crazy experience. It's like I'm a fucking kid, I never had that when I was a kid. I don't live there, so I don't have all the bad stuff in it. Like, you don't have to shovel any of it. I don't want to shovel that stuff. It's like you clowns come in and go, oh, let's go to Florida, look at the swamp. Like, why? Why do you want to go to a swamp? That's where we send the ogres. The worst thing about Canada that I experience is those people have a hard on for ketchup. And I hate ketchup. Oh my God, I hate ketchup. Can't stand the smell of it. That's it. That's the only problem. Everything else about them is cool. No, we had a lovely trip. British Columbia. It should be half Columbia, half British, right? Named it wrong. I know. They should have good curry on the Indian reservation. Somehow I doubt that's the case. How you figure? Mr. Holton, welcome. Icelandic sheep are suicidal. Okay? They wait by the side of the road for your car to close by and then jump out. Go to Iceland. It's actually on my to-do list. I just don't know when we're getting around to do that. So Iceland has a really weird thing. Other than there's, I don't know, there might be one tree on Iceland. I know two people that have gone to Iceland. They brought me back pictures, and it's a pretty unique place. I don't know about sitting on that volcano though. I'm not a fan of volcanoes. I mean, I think volcanoes are fascinating, fascinating. Me not being near them, but I had we have a lot of deer here, like just regular deer, not some humongous thing. And the other day, about a month ago, there was one by the side of the road, and sheep aside, like it probably, I probably would. I would like most places as long as they're not a place where they blockade the airport and we can't leave. We had a great trip in Mexico. That was just unfortunate that that happened. It's like, well, that's off the list. I want to go to a country where I can't speak the language. I've never experienced that, ever. So I've gone to other countries, but they always spoke Spanish. So just be nice to, like I'd like to go to Italy and like not speak Italian and like talk to your hands. Talk with your hands. Greenland is still green, but it's because the lava fields are covered with 12 inches of moss. But there's not a whole lot of trees, is there? They have there's one guy that I know brought me pictures of this museum that he went in. I think, well, I'm pretty sure it's in Reykjavik, and with all the sea creatures, and they've got like these, stuffed whales and just amazing stuff. Norway's probably another place I'd probably really like, although I'm not real keen on these people that hunt whales. And I'm not an animal rights person, but whales are cool. There's some animals that are cooler than others. Well, I'm allowed to make my own decision, about what animals I like. I like dolphins. I like whales. I feel like they're smart enough to figure things out. I don't really want them to be hunted, especially when they seem to be generally friendly towards humans. So now, if you have an animal that's always an asshole towards humans, yeah, fuck them, right? Like they're trying to jump in front of my car, fuck them, run them over. Suicidal sheep. So, anyways, so I'm going down this road, and it's a 2-lane road. It's in good shape, and it's got a clearing of grass before you get to the actual woods, pretty wide, maybe even 100 feet wide. So there was this deer that was just in the middle of that 100 feet. Okay, so and I was traveling about 40 miles an hour or something like that. So it wasn't really fast. And I'm like, I wonder what happens if I honk the horn at him, right? Like, is he going to get startled or something like that? And I was coming up on him. He's 50 feet off to the side. And yeah, he was like, he froze in place. So, cause I was just thinking, at that point, I'm like, what if I see deer in the middle of the night and honking the horn? Does that make it better or worse? Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a very graceful creature, but, they're not really aware of their own mortality, I guess. Icelandic joke. If you ever lost an Icelandic forest, stand up. All the trees are low to the ground. Yeah, there's no trees there, right? There's even less trees in Greenland. Yeah, it's actually on our to-do list, but it's just so hard to get away from work. Forget cost. I'm not saying I'm made of money, but you could budget that, you know? You could just be like, hey, we won't go on a cruise this year. We'll do this instead, right? Mix it up a little bit. I feel like this whole Airbnb craze that's happened in the last 10 years has really benefited people that travel to places that maybe they wouldn't be able to afford to stay in some of these places. I feel like that's the case. My wife says to me the other day, she goes, "Oh, I don't know what she was doing." She's like, we can rent a house, and oh, I know what it's about. My daughter may end up going for 6 months to Spain to study, so we're gonna go over there. That'd be an opportunity to go out there. She's like, "Oh, we can rent a house for 2 weeks or something like that, or a month for like $2,000 or something like that. I'm like, that's pretty cheap because that's what rent costs here now. Thanks, Mr. Inflation. Never experienced inflation in my adult working life ever until post COVID, and I'm not happy about it. And we're all fucked equally around the world too. It's not just an America thing, but yeah, I think the Airbnb makes things more affordable to be able to stay somewhere because if you're going somewhere like Iceland, you just stay there and use it as a home base and travel around or what have you. Snapdragon. Let's put this away before we make a bigger mess. Let's see, do I have any more paper towels? No, we gotta go in search of. Norway's a place I'd really like to go to, but I can tell you right now, it'd be really annoying to be in a car and be at the end of like Narvik Fjord, and you want to go to the other side, and you have to like basically travel for like a month back, and then a month all the way back there on these little roads. Oh man. One thing that helps me travel a lot is not make any fucking plans. What are we doing today? Well, we'll see. Be flexible. And then everything goes okay. At least I don't have a problem with it that way. Make sure you're traveling with people that have the same kind of mentality. Don't travel. If you want things to just be whatever, don't travel with people that are like really strict. Well, we got to do this and we got to do this on this day, and Tuesday this has to happen, and hey, you got to be flexible. It may be something you need to do outside, and it's a day where it's storming. Do it a different day. Flip the days. Be flexible. Any countries you guys have been to that you're like, you probably shouldn't go to this country. I had a bad experience. Any reasonable countries. Not like, I went to Zimbabwe and I had a bad experience. Well, no shit. I didn't enjoy the Airbnb in North Korea. Norway has one tunnel that goes under a major fjord. Don't know if they have as many tunnels as Iceland. They might. Iceland has a lot of tunnels. I am not a tunnel fan. I get creeped out. I don't want to. What part of Spain is she going to? Sevilla. So, South Central. I guess South Central. Yeah, it'll do her good. The first thing I'll miss is, there's things I miss at home from home, and it's like, the first thing I miss is the food. We're fucking spoiled here when it comes to the way food is presented. It's not presented that same way anywhere else, miles and miles long. Ooh, oh, I would not be a good candidate to do the channel. No, I'll swim over it. My people are historically good swimmers. We'll stick with that. I don't know, I'm buried alive. I got a phobia with that. I'd rather die a different way. The food, we're spoiled with food here. We are absolutely unrealistically spoiled with food. We have food served in a almost clinical way that isn't anywhere else. I'm not saying that I only like American food. I'm not saying that at all. I actually don't like American food. I like, the presentation and stuff. That's the first thing I miss. So, and when I went to Canada, the presentation was even fucking better than here. It was like incredible. That was like a food mecca. Unbelievable. Is it Norway where the commandos train? That would be a good place for them to train. passes over the mountain ranges can be pretty windy, so there's a choice between long tunnels and being blown on the highway to the fjord. Oof. Well, we're not going there for a while, so I got some time to build up in me. I've been talking about going to Europe for 20 years now, and it just hasn't happened. It's just too difficult. And if I never get to go, it's okay. I mean, we got the Google Mobile. I can go. One day I was bored, and I'm like, I wonder what the fuck is on Santorini. So I go on Santorini, and the Google Mobile went on Santorini. So I go down these little streets, whatever the Santorini town is called. I think that's the name of what's left of the crater, not the name of the town. Anyways, and there's the Google Mobile went on there. So I went down the street, and you go down, you scroll a little bit. Oh, there's an empty lot, and here's a special that they've got on their food at the restaurant. And it was written in English and Greek as well, which, I love looking at things written in Greek and Hebrew and even Arabic, but I can't understand what the fuck it's saying. So that doesn't really work. I mean, I don't speak French, but I can figure things out. I can tell the difference between bread and a toilet. Okay, there's a difference. Those two words look very different from each other. And I actually don't know what the name of the toilet is, but I suspect it's probably really similar looking to toilet, considering toilet is probably a French word. But anyways, hey, that calls for a drink. But I went down this with the Google Mobile down there, and it was like, oh, here's an empty lot. There's 3 dogs looking at the Google Mobile. It was just cute. It allowed me to travel without traveling. So, it's just a nice. It's a good time that we live in for some things. It's a good time that we live in for some things. It's not a good time for other things. But for the most part, we have a lot of advantages in the times that we live in. Sometimes it's not the case, but. Oh, I've done remembered. We did not use white. We used this stuff. We used sandstone. That way it's a little bit warmer. Oslo is opening its new Viking ship museum in 2026. Is in Norway, are the Vikings presented as are they, probably not if they're opening a museum for them, are they presented in we're embarrassed that our ancestors used to do all this raping and pillaging, or they're just deal with it, or we'll come rape and pillage you again? Are they apologistical about the Vikings, or? Show me on this doll where a Viking raped you, I honestly don't know. Are they more towards the Japanese and what they did in World War II, or are they more like the Germans, what they did in World War II? Nah, Dark Ages, all nations are pretty brutal. I mean, I don't think they need to be apologized, but these current trends. Welcome, Arizona Stan. How you doing, man? Mr. Lanschknecht. I remember a time when I was building my Maximilian army, that I had to type that word over and over and over and over again every time I posted a picture on Facebook about my lens connect troops. Those 28s at the top of the screen. Oh no, we don't do 28s. Blasphemy. No, I'm not a 28 guy. They're all 20s. All 20s all the time, baby. I'm the one guy in the United States that does 20s. I'm sure there's two other of us. Marcus is a 20 millimeter guy. I never did 28 millimeter. I never did 28. I don't have an affinity for them. And if I wanted to at the time, when I started doing this skirmish stuff, there just wasn't much variety in that scale. I mean, there's variety now, but there wasn't back then, you know. Keep it down over there. You know, and I'm all for whatever scale you're interested, that's what scale you're interested in. I don't need to convert anybody. But, you know, this brings back memories of me playing with the MPC figures in the 1980s. And, you know, I just kind of thought these were just toys you played with as a kid. And then I made a trip. We had this big hobby store in Tampa, which is about 2 hours away from us. And in the early 90s, we would take road trips. We'd go there, I don't know, maybe once every 6 months or something like that. We're like, hey, let's pile in the car and go down there. So 3 to 6 different people went on this road trip and went to this hobby store to see what they had to buy. And I saw these figures, these combat miniature figures that I'd never seen before. And I just fell in love with them. I absolutely fell in love with them. That every figure was completely different. And I'm like, I want to do skirmish gaming in 20 millimeter because these figures are stupendous. And the rest is just history, you know. I really like the scale. I always have. Your Holy Roman Empire is 28 millimeter Warlord miniatures. So they're all plastique, right? How do the weapons handle? They kind of brittle, or there's a little bit of flex to them, so they survive? Warlord, I always get mixed up with Victrix. Because I lump them in the same category because I don't know any better. They're plastic. And they're relatively new. Both companies are relatively new companies. I mean, they're not, I don't think they've been around for more than 15 years, which is, you know, really, really new as far as I'm concerned. I said 20 years ago when I was doing this kind of stuff, they didn't make any World War II stuff in 28 millimeter, other than, as a matter of fact, Westwind was the one that they were making some 20. I think those guys were actually true 25s. And those figures actually looked okay, and they may be the only, I don't know if they're still even around anymore, but their figures look pretty good. But, you know, every vehicle is basically available in this scale. So I'm like, well, it just makes sense to do this. Plus you can pick up Matchbox cars and make other vehicles, and they're not too out of scale. You know, it's not too bad. No work. These figures tend to be a little heroic sized, so the fact that the vehicles are a little heroic sized as well doesn't bother me. That's why I prefer 72nd to 76th. I think the vehicles look better, more in 72nd scale than 176, but I mix the two if I have to. Warlord tends to be I need to do this, and then I need to go back to Warlord tends to buy up the smaller miniature companies. Ooh, I am not a fan of that business model. I'm not a fan of being a Disney. Don't be such a Disney. No, competition's good. Competition's good for the consumer. Having a monopoly on whatever the monopoly is, that's not good for the consumer. Yeah. Lots of people don't like Disney for different reasons. My problem with Disney is they just buy everything up. You know, why did Disney buy ABC and ESPN and Sony, right? They have Sony too. Fox, 20th Century Fox. Like, dude, like, there's other people in the fucking marketplace, man. I thought the government was supposed to keep all that shit from happening. In the United States, there's pretty much, for the most part, only three cell phone carriers. Hey, you can't let that pool get any smaller, man. The consumer's just going to get bent even more. And we're all consumers. They bought Skytrex out of liquidation. I got a lot of Skytrex models. And I got them because they were really cheap. And I didn't want somebody else having them. And I've done a pretty good job of painting them. Meaning, I got a lot of them to paint. But I got a lot of them painted also. And I actually look forward to painting more of them. So, not necessarily a bad thing. Stay away from Warlords, American War of Independence range. Those are old War Games Foundry miniatures. Okay, they're not good? There's occasionally things that you encounter that everybody has something nice to say about them. You're never going to say there's some things you just never hear anybody. There could be, but I've never heard people say bad things about them. And one of those things that I've never heard anybody say something bad about was that game Mordheim. Everybody always liked Mordheim. Always. I don't know why I thought about that. Probably because I was thinking if I did 28s, it'd be something skirmish like that. Everybody has always something nice to say about Mordheim if they've played it. There's just some things like that, Like, nobody hates Morgan Freeman. Like, oh, fuck, Morgan Freeman's in. I don't want to see it. Nobody hates Morgan Freeman. Or if they do, they shut the hell up. Or I certainly haven't heard them. You're dead. You can't talk like that. No, there's just some things you just always... Everybody likes the Perry's work, right? I got some of their 20mm figures. I don't think they're better than Dave Alsop's stuff, but they've got character. They got character. Their tank crews are pretty darn good. The infantry, not too bad. We'll paint them up, mix them up with everybody else. No, let's remember what we did. Sandstone. One of the things, had I gone to Historicon, I would have probably bought a triad or several triads of the Foundry paints, just to see how they are. I've heard rumors that they're the same as Coat d'Arms, which are my favorite paint by every stretch of the imagination. I just can't walk into a store here and get them. Best game that Games Workshop released was the board game Fury of Dracula. I've never heard somebody comment on that. Mordheim has inspired many small-scale skirmishes with team progression campaign mechanics. Mordheim's the name of a town, right? In the Games Workshop lore. I would imagine with that name, it's probably the Empire. It sounds like a town that would have problems with rats. Like Skaven would just be like, they'd have a Skaven problem. It just sounds like Mordheim and the rats. The Pied Piper of Mordheim. Does anyone make 20mm World War II French and early war Germans? Lots of people do. Even, I think AB makes them. I think AB now makes French. I would never do French in U.S. kit. I would never do French. It's just like, you might as well paint Americans. And what makes them different? They have this little, like, Free French type symbol on the side of the, tank. I don't have anything against de Gaulle. I just, That's not French. I'd do 1940 French because they're cool. They got different equipment. They got some cool machine guns, and tanks are neat. Frostgrave was definitely a child of Mordheim. Same manufacturer coat the arms in original Citadel paints. I still have original Citadel paints. They're up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I got 15 of them, and they're not growing any. And most of them are alive still. This silver, well, Snapdragon. This Mithril silver, I've had this probably since 1989. I don't use it very often. That helps. Get back up there. I know it's a Nazi tank, but be nice to him. Yeah. The only Citadel paints I hated were the ones that came. I don't have any left because they dried out. Or the ones that came in and they were little containers that were like, they were about this size and they had the black lids, and this was hard plastic and the lid was hard plastic and it was hexagonal-ish, and they didn't seal with a damn. And it was like you use them twice and they were drying up on you. Don't like it, Early war miniatures are a go-to for 20mm early war II from an eclectic. Yeah, he does have an eclectic range of countries. I've never ordered from him. I don't need to order any figures for ever. I mean, unless I got into like the desert or something like that. I'm tempted to paint my Airfix figures and see how they do. But everybody likes the desert too. Right? I've never encountered somebody that goes, oh, North Africa, fuck that. No, it's cool. I mean, it might have complaints about it, like, oh, you can't, there's no terrain or something like that, like for infantry to hide in. I've heard people say that, but who the hell doesn't like North Africa? I mean, the desert rats and all the other guys, they're cool. The African Corps, they're cool. Even the Italians are, they make some, I came really close to picking up some Italian figures the other day. But I'm really good about like, I wonder how many of these I'd buy. And I put them in my shopping cart and don't hit buy, How did Hitler tie his shoes? The little Nazis. Oh boy. Dun 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 dun. I know we can't put a picture of Hitler. Can we talk about him, or is that illegal too? Do we need to forget about him so that it could be another ridiculous person that comes in and murder people? I was talking about that this morning. There was a guy that I know that frequently posts things on Facebook. And I don't really put controversial stuff on Facebook. But he made a comment about, it was like a meme that he had. And I talked about it this morning. And he had I think it said something like, Argentinians be like. And then there was two pictures next to each other. They were part of the same group. And they had a Spanish bullfighter on one side. And it had a German uniform with a crooked spider on the sleeve. So like a SS uniform on the other one. And it said first name under the bullfighter. And then last name under the Nazi uniform. And I sort of spotted to him with a picture of Mussolini. And said ... or this. And immediately within 10 seconds for sure, I got a notice that my post went against the Facebook rules of posting nasty dictators up there. But yet you can go in Facebook and create a GIF, however you want to call it. I don't have a preference. Or memes directly from the Facebook interface with Stalin on him. Like he's okay. Now I can see, I don't agree with it, but I can see saying, all right, you can't use Hitler, but you can use Stalin. But Mussolini was a freaking choir boy compared to Stalin. I'm gonna die on that hill. Okay. Yeah. So fuck you, lizard boy. But that wasn't, that's just automatically AI stuff. So. I bet you could put things in mild too. You know, I need to look into that. What dictator is allowed on Facebook? You know, is Mao? Can you put Mao up there? Can you put Pol Pot? What about Pinochet? Years ago, I was told a joke to a World War II veteran. He laughed and laughed. The guy was a Navy fighter who fought at Midway. Been reading Volker Kutscher's noir detective series set in Berlin from 1929 to 1933. Great setting, really fun mystery novels. Well, you know there's definitely some Nazi conspiracies there. Because, you know, I mean, that kind of works in that. When I worked at the hobby store in the early 90s, I encountered quite a few World War II vets, all Americans. And it was really interesting to see which ones were willing to talk about their experience and which ones weren't. And ones that basically, you know, went everything from like one guy that was a bomber pilot. I'm not sure if he was a bomber pilot, but he was on a bomber, or at least he said he was on a bomber. And he was kind of able to look at the whole picture. And then there was another guy that went to Pacific that if he saw one Japanese person, he'd want to try to kill them. So, I mean, it just totally depends on what their experience is, as it would make sense. You know, it depends on what little piece of the pie you got exposed to, you know. So, my late war British are mostly the new style Airfix, although I have a few PSC in the mix for Kangaroo and Buffalo crews. Oh, by the way, I forgot to comment on that. You made a comment on that Facebook thing, and you said you thought of me. I said, yeah, I saw a little clip of that, and it was that ugly-ass duck truck. God, that thing is so freaking ugly. That is like one of the ugliest vehicles ever of any nation. It is just ugly as sin. DUKW. It might have been a great vehicle in the Second World War. I honestly don't know, but it is ugly as sin. Sinfully ugly. Yeah, so people get exposed to different stuff and, you know, what they're... I could totally see if you're on some freaking island or if you're in hand-to-hand combat with the enemy and they're just out to kill you, I would say it would be real easy to not have anything nice to say about them at all after the war's gone. I mean, you have to, you know, I mean, it might seem a little unfair, but man, that kind of thinking got you to survive, you know? You just never know what kind of hell some of these guys have been put through. All right. Or, you know, not taking prisoners, or, you know, you get these guys that mow all your buddies down, and then when you get close, they want to throw their hands up. Like, I totally understand not taking prisoners. I mean, it's cruel, but, you know. I talked with a German veteran who was captured at Monte Cassino. Was he was he a parachutist? Sent to POW camp in Arizona. When the war ended, he just stayed in the USA. Yeah. Wow, that's a change in temperature. Woo. Cold, wet Germany to hot, dry Arizona. Maybe he liked burritos. Maybe there wasn't any good Mexican food in Germany. I mentioned to you guys I finally saw 1917 on my flight back from, I think it was from Mexico. I really liked that movie. I really liked it. Not enough to watch it again, but I really liked. I thought it wasn't going to be very good. I liked it a lot. It's hard for me to find a war movie that I like. I always have like big problems with it, so it's always nice to encounter something that like hey, I actually like that. It'll either show some viewpoint I'm not interested in seeing, or misrepresent things I think in a way that just doesn't seem very believable, or all of the above, or some of the above, or something like that. But I really like 1917. I also was expecting not to like it, and that has a lot to do with it as well. And I think my daughter would have enjoyed it too. But we did watch all the Spielberg series now that she's home from summer. So we watched all the Masters of the Air and the Band of Brothers and the Pacific, which were all new for her to watch. You work with an older man who is part of a U.S. tank crew. He told me he once encountered a lone German tanker sitting on top of a smoking tank. The German said, "Panzer kaputt," and laughed. Yeah. I'd like to think that a lot of the enemy was just forced to be there, and they didn't have any ideological reasons for. When I was a kid, I started getting into World War II stuff. Of course, I'm not really interested in any of the political stuff about the Second World War. I was just interested in the tanks and the tactics and stuff that went along with them. And I was always, as a 10, 11, 12-year old, I was always thinking, the Germans were it's just payback for losing the first one, which they shouldn't have lost. You know, my favorite what if is, what if the Germans win? What if the Germans win in 1914? Is the world a better place? It could be worse, but there'd be 6 million more other people alive. The population would be up by 6 million people. I bet you. So I don't think Britain should have gotten involved. Hindsight's 2020. What is my favorite thing to explore? What are the British and the Germans doing fighting each other to begin with? You know. Yeah, he was a Fallschirmjäger. He was saying his platoon leader was a Nazi fanatic that no one liked. They were an aircraft that had vomit slushing on the floor. I'd be too scared to throw up. The pilot did a barrel roll to purposely drench the dude. Oh man. Nazi fanatic. That's way too much. Regardless of the racial undertones, that's way too much government for my liking. Get out of my life, government. I never had any Fallschirmjäger troops. Oh, that's not true. I got some Airfix Fallschirmjägers. I don't have any plans to ever paint any. I don't. I just don't. They don't interest me. Same thing. I don't plan on doing any U.S. airborne troops. Not knocking the airborne troops. Just not. Can't do everything. I just figured not do those. Your father accepted the surrender of a group of Volkssturmers. He said they were pretty pathetic and eager to be saved by the Americans. Yeah. Anything but the Russians, that's for fucking sure. So I just finished this book, the Killing the, what was it called? Killing the Rising Sun, Bill O'Reilly's book on the, and it had some problems that I found with it, and errors, but it did kind of make me interested. I want to read more about MacArthur. I really didn't know anything about MacArthur until I started reading this book. Because I'm pretty knowledgeable about the Second World War, and I can tell you where the campaigns are and stuff, but I'm talking about like detail, like the details that if somebody says, hey, give me a scenario that that a platoon level scenario of mix of forces that maybe the United States would have encountered in the Philippines in 1944. I'd probably be able to come up with something pretty good, but that's just not my area of operations, you know. But I kind of like want to find out more about it, not to war game it, but I'd like to find out more about it. And yeah, I really didn't know much about it. It was kind of interesting. But I read books to learn. I do, and and make scenarios out of them, to get ideas for scenarios and wargaming. Your father was a ranger in the Korean War under MacArthur. Did he like him? Did he like MacArthur? I'd like to see a book like comparing, say, MacArthur and Patton. I think there were some similarities there, and there were some differences. Actually, I've never heard MacArthur speak. I've never heard a speech by MacArthur. I've heard a speech by Patton, and he's not a good speaker. He does not have a commanding voice. Let's put it that way. He hated him. Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, he definitely did some prima donna type of stuff, but we'll take his word for it. He was fucking there, you know. Yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting learning about something that I really didn't know about. So I look at things from the standpoint of always from wargaming. So, like for instance, why am I not into the Pacific War? Because, well, I just think that once the U.S. production gets into it, like the U.S. is going to beat Japan. I mean, there's no chance. There's no chance in doing it. The same reason I don't do 1945. Soviets and Germans. Like the Soviets at that point can't lose. So I'm like I prefer periods that are a little bit more balanced because I'm always looking at it from a wargaming standpoint. But I don't know. It's just kind of like maybe I want to learn more about like the carrier actions and how they got out of the ones I don't know about. Everything after the late 43 onwards kind of stuff. You know, and you can't war game that stuff because it's really one sided. It's not to knock into the U.S. veterans. They had some tough. So one of the things I was interested that I found really interesting that I did not know that the was it Iwo Jima or Okinawa? If I get the wrong one, if I get the wrong one mixed up, I get the wrong one mixed up. I want to say it was Iwo Jima. At Iwo Jima, they whichever one the kamikaze started attacking at, they sent like 2,000 kamikaze pilots in. Thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate you. They sent 2,000 kamikaze pilots, died, and they killed 5,000 Navy men. So I'm like, I was floored that because the kamikazes were nasty, right? But I mean, U.S. air defense was second to none at that time, you know, and they chopped a lot of them down. But I guess if one pilot dies in one plane, but kills 50 people, which is reasonable. It's reasonable to have one plane come in and hit a carrier or a battle, even something like a battleship, and 50 people die, 50 battleship crew members die. That's not that unreasonable of a scenario. And yeah, eventually some kamikaze pilots never made it to the ship, but if they did do an impact, it could be it could be nasty. So yeah, I was surprised at whatever this it said. It said that there was like 2,000 kamikaze pilots died and 5,000 naval casualties. I'm like, wow, that's a lot. I mean, that's I'm surprised they did better than that. So, but I just like to read a little bit more about that stuff. I just kind of like, here's an opportunity to learn about something that I'm not really super familiar with. And I'm not a what was the term? I'm not a flag shagger. As a matter of fact, I'm quite the opposite. I'm already American, and I like being American, and I like to play other nations other than American because I get to be American every day, So, Navy use of time fuses destroyed many Japanese planes. So it's basically grenades, right? Some of those like 5-inch guns and stuff like that are basically grenades. That's what it is. That ACAC, the big ACAC is just like a proximity grenade. Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to know. There's some things that just don't interest me about the U.S. Navy, like of that period, like just the fact that they'll build like Fletcher class destroyers and they built like 200 of them. I think it's 175 or something like that. It's just like, okay, from a wargaming standpoint, like I like something more like the British where they have some variations and different things. I mean, obviously it's better to just crank them up. Movie Godzilla as a kamikaze pilot as the main character. Yeah, I like the beginning of that movie. That movie was pretty much trash, except for the heavy cruiser. The heavy cruiser. I was in love with the special effects of the Takao. I thought that was freaking phenomenal. But yeah, remember the guy that was on? He goes to the airfield, and the pilot's like all being all chicken shit, and one of the ground crews like, no, you need to use those 20 millimeter cannons. They're like deadly. They'll kill him in no time. Like, okay, the heavy cruiser shelled him with a full broadside of 203 millimeter cannons, and Godzilla just shrugged that right off. So yeah, I don't think 20 millimeter cannons are going to do anything to him if the 8-inch guns didn't do anything. But yeah, the special effects are pretty decent in that. Special effects are pretty decent in that. But I have a hard time as ruthless. I'm not really ruthless, but I've read a lot about war stuff. And fortunately, I've never been in combat, and I'm pretty thick-skinned about reading about accounts of combat, etc. Okay, that doesn't. I'm not saying that to sound brave. I'm just saying that I've read a lot about it, right? And you get desensitized to things. The thing I have a really hard time reading about, and I get like, I don't, I, that really bothers me, was anything that involves nuclear weapons. Really, really fucking bothers me. The stuff about the effects of the bomb as they're talking about how it affects things. And I read a book a couple of months ago about a nuclear war scenario thing. And it's just really fucking disturbing. I have a problem with horrific deaths to people that are don't deserve it. I mean, I'm not saying that, soldiers, they go in there knowing that, the other guy's going to shoot back. But I'm just talking about civilians and just gory, fucked up, nobody will find you. You'll be, you'll suffer basically like the death of like at Herculaneum. Like it just really, really bothers me. That doesn't mean I can't read it, but I was affected by that. And, you know, anyhow, it'd be different if they were like nuked like all the Japanese on like Iwo Jima or something like that. Like well they were in arms, and they dropped the nuke on them. But like civilians and stuff, I just I have a hard time reading it. It's the worst invention ever in my opinion. March 15, 1952, while operating off the coast of Korea, the USS Wisconsin received its first and only direct hit from a North Korean 155 millimeter gun battery. Wow, I didn't know that. In that book I just finished reading, there's several inaccuracies in it that I suspect. Wisconsin was the last one built of the four, right? In the book, it claimed that Missouri was the last one. I think Wisconsin was the last one. Maybe Wisconsin was the last one converted. I'll have to look that up. I just thought about that right now. But, yeah, I gotta remember what other colors I used for the basing here. Let's get the roads out here. I guess I should write this down. Or just go watch one of my videos. Oh! We did a shitload of colors on this, didn't we? Yeah. Okay, number two was this one. And then we did this one. And then we did this one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can approximate this. We definitely did territorial beige. U.S. Wisconsin returned fire with 16-inch guns. Escort, destroy, manage, message them, temper. I don't care for U.S. destroyers being named after people with their first and last name. I just I'm a naval war gamer and I've painted names on things. I don't like, just like I don't call the pocket battleship Admiral Graf Spee. I don't want the admiral there. Like it's just Graf Spee. It's hipper. It's not. I mean, I know there's too many things called with the same name, but Alan B. Sumner or Sumner or whatever. I don't really care for that. I'm not trying to dishonor anybody who died in a heroic way. They have a ship named after them. I'm just saying that aesthetically, I'm not a fan of that. Nobody beats the British destroyers as far as their names. They're just in the Second World War. Big fan. Big fan. I love those adjectivical names that they give people, things. Adjectivical. Yeah, we make up our own fucking words here. I'm a walking Bushism. I say stuff like that. I don't write things like that. Adjectivical. I posed this question to you guys a couple weeks ago. I was reading something about the Italian 15-inch gun battleships, Vittorio Veneto and Littorio. You can't really call Roma. Roma, by the time she went into service, they were already in Tunisia. Or maybe it was even after Tunisia. Roma came out really, really bad. But anyways, Vittorio Veneto and Littorio, they were pretty much active the whole war. Maybe not June 1940, but shortly thereafter. I don't think their 15-inch guns ever hit anything. I don't think the 15-inch guns actually put like a dent on a British or Commonwealth or an enemy vessel. I don't think they ever hit anything. And I heard the rumors like, oh, the muzzle velocity was out of control and it was really fast and the shell quality was... That doesn't matter. I mean, the shells never hit a fucking thing. I mean, that's like a problem, I mean, like they went out several times. Yeah, that's a problem. You need to get... You can't win a war if the battleships and the Italian battleships Italian ships are gorgeous. The old Midway vet was upset that the Navy didn't continue to name future carriers with the name Wasp. I think that if you name a ship something and it sinks, it's probably not a good sign to name it again. The same thing. Lady Lex gets sunk, and I'm a big fan of Lady Lex. It's my favorite American carrier. Is it my favorite carrier ever? Well, I'm not a huge carrier fan. Probably not, but it's certainly my favorite American carrier. You don't get another Lexington, so at least not in the same war. It gets really confusing. Like, how many of those guys that served on the Essex-class Lexington decided, I wonder if this was going to suffer the same fate? I like Lady Lex. I don't like Cage Mass. I think they're ugly. There, I said it. Lexington, how she was going to be built as a battle cruiser, ugly. Would have been an ugly ship. Sorry. Because of the Cage Mass. Wasp. Wasp is a good name. Wasp is a class of one. It's its own thing. I had a Wasp when we were doing 12400. But the naval war game would be ACW Ironclads. Well, that's because you like the Civil War. I don't like the Civil War. I played an ACW Ironclad game one time with Mitch. Went to a convention and we decided to play this guy's game because All of his guy's stuff looks great. He puts on games and conventions. Is an older fellow. I believe he paints all of his own stuff, but he's really into the American conflicts, and I am not. I do not like American history. So he does like a lot of French Indian War, ACW, that kind of stuff. And I'm not really into American history, and I'm really not into the Civil War because it's a time period that I don't really care for the fashion of it. I don't like the way uniforms looked or the weaponry or the facial hair. There was facial hair issues in the American Civil War, definitely, and it doesn't appeal to me. I don't have one of those backgrounds where my granddaddy was on this side that worked. My people still had been in Europe. We didn't come over to this country in that time, so I don't have that tie-in to that. But I knew this guy put on games that were really good, so I talked Mitch into playing this game with him, an ironclad game, and everybody wanted to play the North because the North had turreted ships, and I wanted to play the South because we have fun accents, right? So I just wanted to talk in a funny voice for a couple hours, and I did, but the game was broken because the game you could either fire at the beginning of the turn or at the end of the turn. So it was one of these situations where I was in this casemate ship that could only fire, broadsides. So at the beginning of the turn, I was not in arc, and at the end of the turn, I moved through the arc where I could aim at them, but I ended up not in arc again. So I basically didn't fire, and that happened frequently over and over again. I'm like, this game just doesn't work. It doesn't work if you're gonna. It's not a fun game. I don't need to win, but I need to roll some dice. If you're not rolling dice, the game is a fail. And it's something that in real life you'd be able to do it, but because of the game mechanics, it doesn't allow you to do it. The game is broken. So we won't be playing that game again. But if I was playing the North, it wouldn't be any fun because it's just basically a turkey shoot with no chance of there's no challenge there. You want no challenge in real life. If there's a way to attack your enemy and destroy them without you suffering any casualties, that's the route you're going to take. But in a game, that's no fun, So, anywho, I never got into the Civil War. And again, my dad didn't like the Civil War. I didn't get into it. But I think part of the reason a lot of people do like the Civil War is because they have ancestors that they can trace that, there's like a tie-in. There's like a personal tie-in to it. For me, it's just it's a period that just doesn't interest me, And I don't like to play Americans anyways, and now it's you're American no matter what side you pick. I'm like, nah, I'll just pass on that. However, my hero, Dave Alsop, does make some pretty nice freaking figures in 15 millimeter for the American Civil War. So, if I absolutely had to do the American Civil War, I'd be using his figures. But that's not going to happen. I could think of so many conflicts I would do before the American Civil War, basically all of them. But that's okay, I'm in the minority. I know a lot of people like the American Civil War. It's funny. I think I was on a Facebook group or sometime, and this one guy, somebody had posted pictures of World War II, and I knew this. There's somebody that I knew or somebody that I'd heard of. This gentleman was about 10 to 15, maybe even 20 years older than I was, and he was just commenting that he was playing his first World War II game ever. I'm like, I played my first World War II game when I was fucking 10. I'm like, World War II is the measurement that everything is compared to. True, your family was in the 9th New York Volunteers. Yeah, see, there you go. And that's cool. I mean, I get it, but for me, it's we were still in Spain eating empanadas. There's no tie-in there, Now, and I went to Gettysburg a couple of years ago on our way to Historicon, and even though I disliked... here's the thing I disliked about the trip to Gettysburg. And probably the thing I dislike the most about it is that it's a battlefield, and a lot of things are left as they were, but a lot of things aren't. Like there's trees where there didn't used to be trees, so it's kind of annoying to see. You'd like to go there and see kind of like what it would look like, and you need to squint your brain to kind of see what's going on, so to speak. I didn't like that part, but I did like the little round top where it had the little markers like, okay, this regiment was from here to here, this one was from here to here. I thought that was very good for a war gamer's perspective, where they can visualize. I thought that was pretty cool. Oh, man, it was hot. Oh man, it was hot. Yeah, guys playing his first World War II game. Like shit, I've been playing. That's it. Like I had never, ever played Romans, medievals, ancients, any of that stuff until 2004 when I got played DBA at a convention. Never. So I didn't watch any Roman movies. I didn't watch any, I mean, the only Romanish type movie I'd ever seen growing up was Ben-Hur. That's it. I never saw Antony and Cleopatra. I never saw Julius Caesar. This it just doesn't interest me. I can't. There's nothing to tie it in, you know. So, DBA did allow to open the pores in my brain to learn about details of history that I would have not known. And I say details because I knew about the histories. I took history in all the freaking electives in college. So, I still like the history. Like, I knew about fucking Romans and stuff, but I wouldn't be able to name, like, okay, what proportion of the Roman force is cavalry? Like, well, I didn't know that, like, half? No, it's not, that's too much. How am I going to know that, So it's interesting. It's all about, some people like to participate in history by reenacting. Not me. That's like, I live in Florida. You don't want to reenact anything. It's just too freaking hot to be in that. But yeah, my version of reenacting is play it on the tabletop. Paint figures for it, and you can't help but learn about stuff. If I want to learn about Napoleonics, about the Napoleonic period, get a Napoleonic game, and I have to research the uniforms and stuff like that. And I actually enjoy doing that kind of stuff. It's like learning about shit, Not that I'm going to do that, but I still have these dreams. So we're going to put this together, maybe not tomorrow, but we're going to put this together soon and start seeing kind of what this battlefield starts looking like. If it's kind of like this vision that I envision. And if so, and I think it's coming out really close, I'm gonna have a lot of fun with the desert. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with the desert. I'm gonna do shit you guys haven't seen before, and I don't know what it is yet, but I'm always a pretty confident. After I've done something once, I'm pretty confident with it. Like figures, I'm not worried about figures, but terrain, I don't know shit about terrain, man. I've done terrain for DBA and stuff, but you can't help but figure out some skills along the way that are similar to other things you've done. Like when I painted a backdrop for one of these things, I've never painted on a fucking canvas before. But I've painted things, so I've got like a clue, And sometimes you just have like this self-doubt, and like I said, you need to just throw. If you have those kind of feelings, just start throwing paint. Not physically, don't not Jackson Pollock, but start painting, and you can paint your way out. And I have a lot of confidence now in a lot of these things that I've created for this silly ass game here, the one that we're doing now, including what I'm doing right here, that my first try at it has turned out pretty close to what I wanted it to look like. And it has really given me a lot of, I don't want to sound like I have low self-esteem when it comes to painting, because I don't, but it's given me a lot of confidence to try to maybe try things that I may not have tried because I'd be afraid of it not turning out well. When in reality, it's just freaking paint, man, and you figure it out. So, I've got these ideas for North Africa that I've always wanted to do an airfield, the airfield battle where because it was Seesaw during Operation Crusader. And remember, I'm playing an actual scale, so we're talking, you know, an 8-foot battlefield is really 200 meters by 200 meters. It's pretty zoomed in, but it'd be nice to have some wrecked vehicles and planes and, you know, 25 pounders with, you know, jock columns defending at point blank range against the Panzer. I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff that could happen there, and it could look really epic. And I haven't seen very many people do that. And the next thing we're going to tackle after we do this is we're going to do some smoke. I got one of these vehicles in this one scenario that I'm building everything towards, and that is supposedly on fire. It's on fire from the get-go. So Marcus knows about that. He picked up on it. He's paying attention. He aced the quiz. And it's this one scenario that's actually from the rulebook. And it's... So I've got some smoke that I picked up, and we're going to kick that out of the park. Okay, I've seen some smoke and stuff online, and I think I can outdo that shit. So when I see things that are really good, I'm empowered to like do better. Not like, oh, I'm never going to be able to compare to that. I ought to just give up. I do the opposite. You know, I'm like that. I'm like that one runner that's like, oh, the hell no, ran faster than me. I'm going to outdo you, and I'm going to train for it. Kind of the same thing, except, you know, not physical. So country ass tan, I believe, was the next color. So hopefully you guys will stick around with me for the next couple years, and I got a lot of stuff I really want to do. I'm really empowered by it. I was really jazzed. Is a word I don't use. About how these figures turn out basing in the photos and everything, because I painted them 20 years ago, and I'm happy with how they look, other than the basing. But that was just pre-internet. We didn't know about there was better basing systems. Mr. Hoffman, going good. Your guy's black base, but that's it. Sorry. Here he is. We are doing, so today's is we're doing more roads. So we'll have all the roads that go through town, and we're working on the transition sections. So the transition sections will take this road and bring it into the asphaltic section. So that's what we're going to be working on tonight. Tomorrow morning, I don't know what we're doing tomorrow morning. Oh, and I finished up some of my German figures. So you can kind of see what you're going to look like, except it won't be your exact figure. So the basing turned out really well. I was really happy with that. So yeah. And you guys are helping out a lot, keeping me on track. I mean, how long have I been on here? Almost 2.5 hours. It's, you know, thanks to you guys. You know, I'm not blowing smoke up your asses. I mean, it's true. You know, if there's someone here to occasionally interact with back and forth with my monologue, it keeps me on track doing this instead of like going and finding something else. Instead of playing World of Warships or whatever all night. You know, so which I can't do. I can't do that for that long a period of time. But that is my one guilty gaming pleasure. What's my usual morning start time? 6. Okay, Jeffrey, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you. Be well. Yeah, 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm up at 5, and then I have breakfast and putz around on the internet, and somewhere around 6 o'clock, 6 a.m. And people are like, why do you wake up so early? I said, well, I got to wake up that early anyways to go to work. So why wouldn't I just get up early to work on my hobby? And besides, then you don't dread Mondays as much, because it's not like you're working up on a Monday any earlier than any other day. It's like, oh, it's Monday. I got to wake up 3 hours earlier. Like, no, you know. You've been playing a little bit of Field of Glory 2 on your PC. I was playing a couple of years ago when it came out with a DBA guy, a pretty big mover and shaker in the UK on there, and had a good time, but it's just too time consuming. And it's funny because Field of Glory does some things better than DBA, and some things not. But there's definitely some things that I think are better in Field of Glory than DBA. But it doesn't have the pips. Like you can basically do anything you want with every unit. That's part of the fun. It's kind of fun not to be able to do everything you want. I mean, as long as my opponent's suffering equally, you know, I think this is the right combination of colors. Yeah. Do not doubt yourself. So, yeah, so we painted this morning. We worked on this stuff. We went to go see Deadpool, had lunch, and then we came back and hang out with you guys again. And had whiskey, or having whiskey. Yeah, no pips. The pip management is incredible. It is a fun freaking. I've got nothing against Mr. Phil. I got nothing against him. He's a genius. He came up with things that I wouldn't have come up with. Now, not everything in there is perfect, but I think we've played his game more than he's ever thought about playing it. I mean, so. But there's just some things I wouldn't have come up with because different people. It's not about being dumber or smarter. Just some people think differently than others. I do not do well with abstract conflicts. What do I think about Art de la Guerre? So it doesn't solve any of the Well, first of all, okay. No judgments. I'm just being honest. I wouldn't play Art de la Guerre because it feels like the stuff was lifted from Phil. It feels like a lot of the stuff has just been appropriated and not given Phil. And I don't have a problem with taking somebody else's work and improving upon it. But you don't charge for it. And you give the guy credit. Why do people have such a hard time giving people credit to other folks in the rules they create? I mean, is the guy a fucking communist child molester? No. Give the guy credit. I don't know what is so hard about giving people credit. Like, I do it all the time. Like, hey, this guy did this, and I got the idea from him. I did. We all get ideas from each other. But anyway, some of this stuff is just. I'll give you an example. There's a thing in DBMM that's called, and I've used the concept in some of our games that we've run, called inert generals and brilliant generals. And there'll be certain armies that you're allowed to buy a commander that allows you to do some fun stuff, some tricks. Think of like Sun Tzu and things like that, right? Like tiger traps and shit like that. You pay for them in the game. Well, there's a list. You can't do them with every army. It'll give you a list of like which armies you can do it under, and occasionally in DBMM there's some things that the craftiness of the generals is left up to Phil Barker, what his idea of it, and there's some guys that nobody will agree on why the hell they're on this crafty list. And the first guy I'm going to tell you is King John, whatever he was, King John the First, I don't know, of England. He supposedly did one battle. He's a military, not that good a guy, but he did some battle. He did like some ruse, and he's a brilliant general. Well, if you look at Art de la Guerre, they have a similar type thing, and the same freaking generals that have that skill in DBMM are the same ones that have it in Art de la Guerre. Maybe not exact. I'm going through them, like 90% of them are the same guys. Like even guys that are questionable. So it's obvious that a lot of the stuff is lifted. I just feel bad about it. No, but besides that, it's a longer game with more troops. And it doesn't solve the biggest problem that I have with DBA is I don't want guys that have to line up exactly straight. I don't want symmetrical isms stuck in the game that are just abstract and you just have to accept them the way they are. And before I stopped playing DBA, we were kind of play testing some ideas that we had, and that was kind of like the last thing that's like I just don't have the energy to do it. I just don't have the energy to do it anymore. It would have been free. I don't do this for the money. As a matter of fact, I know somebody who's got this one guy who's got a podcast that that I was talking to him and I said, "Oh, I got a YouTube channel and everything," and I was thrilled. I was absolutely thrilled that he did it not for the money, because I'm not saying to sound like a freaking socialist or something like that. I'm just saying that if you do things for the purpose of enriching other people's lives or giving back to the community, it just shows that your heart's in the right place. Not just like, oh, I'm just gonna do it for the money and I'm just like a mercenary or whatever, you know. So lots of people like Art de la Guerre. A lot of it. We had a couple conventions ago in Florida. There was a big Art de la Guerre. We're going to start playing this. I'll guarantee the people that are playing Art de la Guerre that played last convention, in 4 years they won't be playing it. Because a lot of the players are just nomadic. They're always like, we're going to build one army. Oh, it doesn't do well in this game. This game sucks. I'll move on. Not everybody, but a lot of people do that. I just don't want to. It was difficult enough to go from 2.2 to 3.0 and have to unlearn stuff that I already knew. And now I'm sure it's better explained than in DBA. You know, DBA is a fine game, but it needs to be explained better. It needs to be illustrated more. There's a lot of, I'm not sure what he means by this, because of the abstract nature of the game, not necessarily, and the lack of, there's multiple thoughts in a sentence. It's not necessarily the language that he uses. He just needs to be more, you know, so that there's not any interpretation errors. So, because I don't want to play the game wrong. I mean, that's, what's the point in doing that? There's not a point for me. Okay, I think we got this where we need it to be. Maybe a little bit more. Let's do what is this lightest colors here? So I don't plan on ever playing it. I don't plan on playing DBA again. I don't have any plans really to play any Ancients in the next 15 years. I just don't. I've put off playing World War II for 20 years, and I know I'm not resentful of it. I enjoyed almost every game of DBA that I played, and almost all of the people, 98% of the people that I played with, I had a good time with them, and I learned a lot of history. And Hordes of Things was written better than DBA. I don't know. The problem with Hordes of Things is they were both the same author, and there's incongruencies between the. I'm fine with, like, okay, well, we have this new troop type and it's called demons, for instance. And okay, they're +6/+3, and they're not good. That part's easy to understand, but the mechanics of, like, contacting is just too fucking difficult. So when we were working on this other DBA version, which wasn't going to be called DBA, I don't remember what the fuck we were going to call it. I don't think we got that far, but we did play test it quite a bit. There's too much of your time playing DBA that is wasted on whether or not you can contact a unit. That needs to be easier, and if you're going to add any more time, it's going to be to the flavor that is happening in the combat. I think the combat is too basic. I think the troop types are way too, like the fact that all knights can be the same. That's just a little absurd. Or anything is or all blades are the same. I think a little bit more detail could be added there, and you save time by just making it easier to fucking contact guys, because they wouldn't be like, okay, well, make sure you line up exactly on that one guy. It'd be like, you move forward to your contact, or pin that guy down, or that kind of stuff. It's just difficult to do that, and then explain it to people where it doesn't make any sense to anybody. Like, people can't understand something like, oh, I don't understand why this guy has to conform exactly to this. I said, and you have to give them examples like, well, it doesn't make any sense to me, but that's the rule, so we'll have to play along with it. I just don't want to do that again. I don't want to play a game where it's not necessarily the tournament aspect. It's the fact that it is a tournament, and because it is a tournament, you can't just play it your own way whenever the hell you want. Because then if you have to revert to playing it the old way, you're going to feel like you're being disenfranchised, or playing a shittier version of the game that you're used to. So we just never made any of those house rules. And you're playing a lesser game than it could be. But that's not to detract anything from Phil. I mean, I think he's a brilliant man. I hope he's doing well. But I'm putting a whole lot of detail into my painting, and I like that. All the heraldry and stuff. Like the game should reward the kind of painting that I'm doing. So this game is pretty close to the rule set we were working on 30 years ago, and it's pretty darn close. And it's out of print, thank goodness. And the nice thing is I can, if something's in the rules that doesn't make sense to me or anybody else playing it, we'll play it a different way. It's not like we're total Taras when it comes to the Second World War. I mean, it's almost my religion to a degree. So, I don't know that we're going to encounter something like that, but if we do, it's really easy to say, oh, we're going to handle this a certain different way. Like I was brainstorming about the grenades thing this morning, about how to handle grenades in a little bit more flavorful way. This is the purpose for me doing this is basically to create. I'm basically creating a short story on the tabletop that I am not in charge of how it develops. It is a narrative that here's all the players and let's see what happens. And just like the DBA games, if you watched any of our DBA games, almost all of them are really close, and almost all of them are really interesting, and almost all of them really bizarre, ironically strange, unlikely things happen really frequently. And that's really interesting. That's really interesting when something like that happens. Just imagine if you're like a gambler. I'm not a gambler, but if you go to a coin slot machine, right? And you know what the odds are. The odds are you're probably not going to get a big payout. But say you go to somewhere, you go to a casino, and everybody's playing on the machines and nobody's winning any money. Well, that's not very fucking exciting to watch, right? You want to see some excitement, and even though it's unlikely, you want to see like jackpots and people get excited and jump up and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of the same thing. You want to see these weird things that happen. You want an ancient game with a little bit more role-playing elements. That's why I find this World War II game you're doing interesting. You'll find it interesting. It's going to be unlike anything, but it does require patience. And I'm not buying the thing that nobody can have patience. There are exceptions, but I think a lot of people have a lot of patience. But what is it that you have patience doing? Okay, I have patience working on this one little thing at a time, and then minutia of the game. What I don't have patience in is, for instance, cooking. Like, I'm a very fast eater, and in 30 seconds this will be gone. So why should I toil 3 hours to make it, and then 2 hours to clean up when it takes me 3 minutes to eat it? So I don't have the patience for that, and I also, this is my therapy. I'm in a therapy session right now, whether you realize it or not. And I don't mean it as a crazy person. I just mean it as this is I'm doing stuff that feels good. That at the end of the day, I'm going to feel better than when I started this. So, and anyhow, so this section. We're going to put some grass around here to tie it in together, and then you're going to have a section here that when you have the town, it'll tie in the end, and it'll go back to being the dirt road. Okay? I don't know that I necessarily need this for this scenario coming up, because I did make the roads so that they all be this size. Yeah. So speaking of ancients, and we watched a movie and watched the trailer to Gladiator, and I am a big fan of the first movie. I think the second one's going to be a shit show. Movies, unlike video games, usually the sequel is worse, and I think it is going to be a woke shit show. But more than that, it's just going to be, it's going to be bad. It's going to be really bad. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but I thought the first Gladiator movie is as good as Hollywood's ever going to be. Hollywood's never going to do a job better than that. It just isn't possible, in a movie. The Rome series was pretty good, especially season 1. Hollywood's not going to do better than Gladiator. That's as good as they're going to do. They're going to twist things. They're going to be like, well, we don't like that. Let's make them this, or let's make them that, or let's do the other thing. And, it's pretty fucking solid, the first one. Vastly different. I love slow cooking barbecue on my smoker. Well, do you check on it or? Yeah, I just don't. You know, I think you want movies to make you mad nowadays because it gets you talking and posting about it on social media. Well, maybe when we have that civil war, we'll go after movie makers too because they're the ones that pissed us off. Best, you know what the best soundtrack is? Rome Total War. The Rome Total War came with a separate, not the second one. Although the second one may be okay. I haven't played enough to determine. But the first Rome Total War came with a separate CD for the music. The first game I ran of DBA, I ran it because Marty, who was the guy that was running it, had to go to a high school reunion in California. I had just started playing DBA, and I'm like, you're not going to deny me playing DBA because I've been working on this army for 6 months. You know, I'm like, I want DBA to be played. So I ran my first event. And I've always run events before. I've just never run a tournament. So in the background, I brought my little boom box because, you know, it was early 2000s, so people still had those boom boxes with CD players. And I played the Rome Total War soundtrack in the background during the whole tournament, and I don't think anybody complained. Not that it would have mattered. Ridley Scott couldn't get Napoleon right. I think I'll pass on Gladiator too. Yeah, Napoleon was just irresponsible. I think Napoleon was irresponsible. Is probably the best way to put it. You're going to learn historical movies are an opportunity to get layman folks, not us, layman folks interested in history, and or to read more about that character, and that didn't do it. That didn't like. Why would I want to read more about this? Why would I want to read more about this henpecked pussy that you know? I was just listening to Europa Barbarorum soundtrack. Europa Barbarorum, yeah, baby. Not as epic, but I like the historical instrument they tried to use. Yeah, it was pretty freaking good. Europa Barbarorum. Oh, I love playing Pyrrhus. You started with this great army that you couldn't build and no infrastructure for it. So you had to husband these forces like they were made out of freaking gold you're never going to see again. So you had this force, like every turn you had to conquer things. And you had to build this. I know it was unrealistic, but it was like a challenge, right? It was like a challenge that it was like when I was playing. Was it Atlantic Fleet? And I was playing the final battle, the Battle of North Cape, with the where you play the Scharnhorst, and you're like outnumbered by the British, and you're encircled. And you're like, you don't have a chance. I was like, well, it was like a challenge. I actually beat it a couple times. It was very difficult, but anyhow. Yeah, you had this force. You had like one unit of elephants. You can't build another fucking unit of elephants because you don't have the stables for it. And even if you had the stables for it, you haven't upgraded to the technology, and you don't have the money to keep that going. So you have this force of elephants that you have to pay, and this elite cavalry, and then your super agama, and you know all these other guys that you're not able. All you can do is buy like these conscript guys to kind of as fillers. So you have to husband these elite troops and use them only at the point of impact because you have to pay them every turn. So you're running into the red like a lot every turn. So it took a while to get that civilization to get into the black, but you had to win some battles, and you had to do. The pikemen are a lot of fun in that game because you have to play keep away on one flank, and you have to try to hit them with the other one. So you pin them, and then you take your really good guys and you go around and you hit them. But that's how every battle turns into. You pin guys, and then you bring a more mobile force, usually, around the back and chop them up from behind. That way you don't take a lot of casualties, you know, and you're victorious and get experience and stuff like that. But yeah, Europa Barbarorum. It took a long time to load up on my computer, though. Who did I play in that? I played Pyrrhus, and I played Sassanids maybe a little bit, but it's mainly just Pyrrhus. Yeah, it was like medieval Total War. I played Spain, and by the time I made the world Spain, I didn't want to play the game anymore. You know, it's like I'm done with the same thing over and over again. You know, make the world Spain. Pyrrhus. I never did build a Pyrrhic army. Maybe one day. Europa Barbarorum, yeah. I always like, was it Europa Barbaroma, one of those when you charge with your with your units and you hear and you just bam, just slam into them and guys just freaking fly and stuff. And I try to like, all right, like pull them out. They've already made impact. Pull them out and then regroup to hit them again, you know? Carthage, Rome, and Macedon. Yeah. I like playing those games as Rome. When I play as Rome, I don't like playing as Rome. Rome's too easy. But when I do like playing at Rome, I would buy the DBA mix. So I would buy, 3 Principes and 3 Hastades and the guys that are in the back. Triarii. 2 Triarii, and then 3 of the other ones, and then put the stuff on the flank, and then I would assemble them in checkerboard formation, and I would make myself play that way, and it was kind of fun. So you eventually be playing Wargaming El Cid in Spain. Excellent, my people. It's my wife's maiden name actually. Cool fact. Okay. We need this stuff right here. Yeah, if I go to Spain, I'll go there and I'll know more about their history than most people there. It just, most people are the same because, Americans are dumb. They don't know anything. There's dumb people everywhere, man. You're a patron to Reconquista miniatures. Those are beautiful. Are they durable? Those are absolutely gorgeous. There's some 28 millimeter figures out there that are absolutely gorgeous. There weren't 20 years ago, but now there are. That's one of them. These guys that do Renaissance stuff. Is it Steel Fist? The Steel Fist stuff just looks like, makes me want to get them. But, and there's lots of manufacturers out there. I don't think we want to use one. We want to use one that's a lot more shitty. A shitty brush. Yeah, Reconquista stuff's beautiful. All right. So we need to put some grass here. So we're going to put it here on the edge where it'll tie into the other one. And then we'll do the same thing over here. And just a couple spots there where we have some grass in between it. Because, grass will find a way to grow anywhere it's not supposed to. Anybody with a lawn can tell you that. Well, that's weeds, And now we have a tie-in. And we'll do the same with the others. Reconquista Designs. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they make those beautiful figures that, Norman Spanish, as some people sometimes are. Spanish with nasal helmets. Actually, the last figures I bought that I didn't get around to painting, which I'll probably do them at some point. I got the troops for Granada and the later Spanish. So I've got some like 1400 Spanish to do with like some Grenadine troops. One day, I should do them because I'd be able to do some nice justice to them, I think. But it won't be for DBA. Maybe Impetus. I have the Impetus rules. I just don't want to burn out. I was getting really burned out on trying to figure out rules, and playing something abstract. I'd rather save the rest of the molecules that are left in my brain for, figuring this out, because this is my period. And when I came back to it, I realized there's so much new information that wasn't available 20 years ago, and easy to find. Just easy to find information. Did I ever post my Huns anywhere on Fanaticus or Facebook? Absolutely, they're on Facebook. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they turned out really well. I mean, I'm really proud of them. Let's see. Let's find them. I'll show you. I post a lot. I post a lot on Facebook, because part of it is just like, if something ever happens to these figures or something, at least I have a record of them. Oh, we got to go back a couple years. I don't do DBA not because I didn't like how my armies turned out. That's not it at all. Got to do the part before I was painting World War II shit. If you see World War II stuff, then I was already not painting DBA. Just before this. Okay, here we go. Of course, the Huns I did were the Hephthalites. There's a back end of one of your elephants. These figures are freaking fantabulous. I don't know how the World War II figures are, but actually, this is a hodgepodge of figures. These guys aren't forged in battle ones. Actually, none of these guys are forged in battle out of those. Yeah, as a matter of fact, these archers are just generic. It's the same fucking pose over and over again from minifigs. Yeah, I'm gonna send you the pictures that I have of this army. Maybe it'll be inspirational for you. Are you on Facebook? Do I have you on Facebook? Send me a message. Send me a message on Facebook, and I'll reply with the 10 or so photos I have of them. Hopefully, it's look. They even have I even made a custom background for these guys. Look, it's a step. Anyways, send me a message on Facebook, and we'll do that. Yeah, I mean, I don't like to. Oh, let me keep all my secrets so nobody can outdo me. Nah, fuck that. We're a commune. Ooh, it sounds dirty saying that, but you know what I mean. This is a group. This is a motivational session. So now, when we have something like this, let's move this myself out of the way, and you've got this, and just disregard this being all yucky looking, because it doesn't look like this. Have this on a nice mat, and you have this road section. Now you can have a road that goes up to it. swirly back on. There you go. And obviously you have, you know, the rest, little bricks and stuff that we'd litter on there. But that's the whole idea, so you can transfer from one thing to the other. Because, you know, otherwise you've got a sidewalk here with like a dirt road, and somehow the grass is growing in between it, which that may be how I have to do it for the scenario. I built these specifically for the scenario, but once I build for that, we're building a French town, you know, and obviously the road is going to be strewn with shit, you know, including where's that new bag I created? Timber pieces. None of this will be glued down. This will just be literally scatter terrain. You know, and you have some bricks and shit in there too, you know, just to kind of tie it all in together. Anyhow, that's what these pieces are for, if you were wondering. Like, what the hell is he doing? Well, that's what it is. It's a transition piece between a dirt road and a pavement. So, that is complete now. So that is probably where we're going to stop for tonight. I don't know what we're going to pick up for tomorrow, but we'll do something. We're going to do something of value. I'm going to hold off on the two very large industrial buildings, the very large tenement buildings that I have for the city, because that's like Berlin type shit. Okay, that's like heavy duty stuff. But these are now completed. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Yeah, send me a message on Facebook there, and I'll send you a picture of those Huns that I got. And we'll see the rest of you guys in the morning in a few hours. All right, folks. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it.